Hello, I'm Luca De Giglio, and this is the Web3 in Travel podcast, where you can learn about crypto, blockchain, and how the new internet will change travel. One of the most, for me, exciting parts of building Web3 in travel is that we are going to build infrastructure. More than that, we are going to build open infrastructure, meaning public goods. Whatever we build is not a closed source software which we are going to charge people to use, and no one can copy and no one can fork. So we are not going to try to capture land. And then after capturing the land, which means often capturing the users, we are going to defend it. The famous moat investors ask you about when you pitch a Web2 startup. It's more like explore as landing in a new land and discover this new continent and saying, okay, what do we need? Well, first of all, we need roads, and they build roads together. And then someone says, oh, we need a water system, and they build a water system together, right? And so on until they have a civilization. No one is building an electrical grade in that situation to charge other people for it. It's been done together. It's been done as a community. Now, let me give you an example. We will need payment systems for travel in Web3. So someone will build them. Someone will build them in the Web2 way and say, okay, we have this, payment processor, which is dealing already with credit cards and stuff. And they say, okay, now you can also pay in cryptocurrencies. And we charge you that amount, you have to apply, etc., etc. But somebody else will build an open system just for cryptocurrencies, which allows you, for instance, and I talked about this in the past, to get paid for your accommodation, and the money goes in the escrow, and the money stays in the escrow until the customer comes and releases the money through maybe an NFT scan, as Winding Tree did recently. And if this is done as a protocol, as an open protocol, where the smart contract is immutable, and the front end can be any front end, anybody can build a front end out of it, this is a purely public good. It's been done by somebody. Anybody can use it. Anybody can do a different version by forking the code. And now this new space, this new continent, as I often call it, has some new infrastructure, and it works. So Uniswap, I always go back to Uniswap because when Uniswap came on the market, that I understood really what it means to have infrastructure and public goods. So Uniswap came with a new way to exchange tokens in a decentralized manner, and they built a public good. Now they're still there, but many other people fork them. So now exchanging a token for another is always done on something which comes from Uniswap. The code is basically the same. So Uniswap made a big effort at the beginning, and everybody else didn't have to spend all that time and taking risk and inventing the wheel again. They could use it again. So now today, exchanging tokens is very easy and it's very safe. And we in DeFi, in this case, have an open public good which everybody can use. The same thing will happen in travel. So when today we sit down and we start thinking about, okay, what can we do for the industry? What do we need? Well, we need everything. We need payment systems, review systems, booking systems, etc. There's going to be, again, people who do this in the centralized, closed way, and there are going to be people who do it in the decentralized, open way. And we want to be, I personally and Trips community, we want to be on that side. In a couple of episodes ago, I interviewed Max from Winding Tree, and they're building this booking system, and he openly told me, you should fork our code. Think about this for a moment. They've been working, and they're going to work on this code for a long time, make mistakes, a lot of efforts, and they are encouraging somebody else to take their job, their work, and make a copy and maybe profit out of it without any return from them, at least not tangible, immediate return. There are hidden returns in terms of credibility, authority, probably karma too. I mean, the fact that the whole system grows if people actually fork the code. And if you are the first, it brings good things with you. But mostly it's not even about being selfless. It's about that's the way this industry will work. It's going to be open finally. So if you're building something which is not totally open, you are not really part of this industry in a way, or you are Web2/3. Fine. I mean, as I said often before, we have to place ourselves in the right place at the right moment to make something work. But thinking ahead, thinking on 5-10 years time frame, where we're going to have a lot of protocols as an infrastructure, when this industry really is going to be completely revolutionized because it's decentralized, it is the protocols which make this possible. Now, one aspect of being the first protocol, the one which everybody uses, is that you can create a cash flow. What does it mean? Well, you could build a payment system where you charge 0.3%. And with the 3.5%, it could go to a safe, to a treasury, which is used for further development, maybe for paying the developers who improve the next contract or improve the front end, etc. There is a strong incentive in building something completely decentralized for the travel industry, because you can also charge for it. Yes, you will not charge it to your company. It's not going to be 10%, 20%. You're not going to try to maximize shareholders' interests. No, you try to create a cash flow, and this cash flow is for everybody who participated in building this. So Uniswap famously is making zero money out of it. They charge 0.3% for the LPs, so for people who actually put the money in the pools. But that's their choice, and they have other ways, other strategies. But Uniswap, SushiSwap, for instance, they charge 0.25 for the LPs and 0.5, if I'm not mistaken, for the project itself. So the project has a big treasury, or used to have. I don't know. I haven't really followed lately. So what I expect to see in the next years is basically not much innovation on the OTA side. On the I always think about OTAs, even if I'm talking about the travel industry in general, because I'm more an expert of OTAs. OTAs won't innovate a lot. While on the other end, on Web3, there's going to be a lot of innovation in creating these infrastructures. Let me prove you that, or at least give you some real-world example. On the 11th of May of 2022, Brian Chesky from Airbnb tweeted, "Today, we are introducing the biggest change to Airbnb in a decade." Now, this is tech. In a decade, I mean, the world changes completely. When Airbnb came out, it really changed travel. At least the accommodation part of travel. It really changed the way we think about hospitality. Before Airbnb, if I had to go to Paris, you would ask me in which hotel you are staying. After Airbnb, you're not asking me this question anymore. Hotels were the default, and they are not the default anymore because of Airbnb. Now, 10 years since the last change that just launched, the biggest news is they have categories. That's basically the biggest of the news is set. So you can browse your apartments and houses and whatever, divided in categories, which is basically niches, right? We did this before I got into Web3 in crypto. We did this with our company. If you remember, I had my own little portal before Airbnb, and when Airbnb came out, we started to differentiate, and we made these niche websites where you could book. You could find in the website only apartments on the beach, only apartments for young people, and all those kind of niches. So we tried this about 10 years ago. Now, we were not successful, we were too small, etc. The idea was sound, I still think it's a good idea. And today, Airbnb actually validates the fact that sometimes you want to browse only inside a certain category. But this is not innovation. Categorizing your accommodations in different niches is not something you can say it's a 10-year revolution. This only shows, and I've said this before, this only shows that OTAs are not innovating. Airbnb is not innovating anymore. Booking.com is not innovating. Agoda, Expedia. They are almost cartels by now because they own all the market in 3-4 of them, and they make for certain sure not to touch the delicate points. They're not fighting on commission, for instance. Nobody is saying, come to my platform because the commission is cheaper. So there are tacit or explicit accords and agreements around that. And these people are not going to innovate anymore. They don't need to. They are in the defending phase. They conquered, and now they have the walls, and they're building the walls. Yeah, once in a while they paint the walls a new color. The real innovation will come from Web3. Why? Because Web3 changes completely the way the internet works. And now, I'm not saying Airbnb won't innovate. Think about it. It was a couple of months ago, Brian Chesky said, he had this poll and he said that the most requested feature was crypto. And nothing has been done in the meantime. Are they still working on it? I'm sure they're still working on it. But crypto for them, in my opinion, is something they have to keep an eye on and try to get on not too early. They're going to get on it when it's too late not to get on it. See what I mean? It's like when it becomes an existential threat, they want to be ready. They're not going to push it. They're not going to try to make it to arrive here faster because it completely changes the business model. The OTAs are the old feudalistic system. They're not going to build the boats to go to the Americas. They're going to try to make this as slow as possible. They're going to try to conquer America and make it work in exactly the same way as Europe works now. While on the other side of the ocean, we have to build everything from scratch. We are building now, and by we, I don't mean me or Trips or the industry. So when Winding Tree comes out with a working protocol for payments and escrow and NFT check-in, this is we. We in Web3 and travel are building the infrastructure. It's going to take a long time, but this is real innovation. And by real innovation, I mean something which really changes the way we book and changes the dynamic and changes who has power and who has money, which should be more the users and the companies and not the big platforms. So innovation will come from there. Now, Airbnb is saying that they made the biggest change in 10 years. This is your bank saying we're going to have a website now. Banks before websites were banks. Then they did the websites, and yeah, it's better. You don't need to go there and queue. You can do it online. But they still have these badly done websites, at least compared to what we expect from Web3, what we expect from internet experience. And they're never going to do much better. Why? They don't need to. They are a cartel. They are not going to bring innovation if innovation means making less money for them, right? Let's not expect any real innovation from Web2. Now, before I go ahead, we are nothing. In Web3, we have done nothing in terms of travel. The travel industry got nothing of value from us. The travel industry got a lot of value from OTAs and from platforms, etc. Travel changed immensely. Okay, it became easier. It was faster to book. A lot of trust issues have been dealt by the platforms. I am not saying Web2 bad, Web3 good. Web2 great. Web3 nothing. That's the situation today. What I'm saying is the end. It's the end of this period. The end of innovation from Web2 because of the incentives they have, not because they can't. Airbnb could innovate incredibly if they wanted to. They don't need to, and they have to preserve the status quo. What I'm saying is not newly discovered continent better than Europe. Europe has the cathedrals, the cities, the markets, the kings, the gold. New continent, nothing. We are just a few dirty explorers trying to figure out how to survive in this environment, right? That's the situation we are in today. So I don't want to sound arrogant in this, but I'm so sure about the trend that I'm struggling to find a way to communicate this without being too cocky, But it's so clear to me that the next iteration is going to be a Web3 iteration with this new layer of trust managed by blockchains and cryptocurrencies. And I can't wait to see more experiments like Winding Tree. I can't wait to come up with an idea for Trips community to build on, which can have also adoption and not only wishful adoption. I cannot wait for more and more people to get wallets. I cannot wait at this point for the old guard to realize that they have to rush or they're going to be left behind. When they start going to see open protocols built by 20 years olds, which are growing at a rate nothing has grown before, and they're going to finally capitulate against their status quo and say, okay, Web3 is the next iteration. Let's go. I can't wait for that to happen. And yes, this comes out of frustration for me thinking that this was going to happen much earlier. We started in 2017, for God's sake, so 5 years ago, and there's almost nothing yet. But I know we are on an S curve. I know I'm repeating myself. I am kind of the boomer of myself here in this podcast by now. We are on an S curve. And the S curve is flat, 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 little growth, flat, and then boom. I don't know where the boom is. It is ahead of us and is not probably too far. I mean, I will survive, I will live when this happens at least. I won't be dead by old age, hopefully, but this is going to happen. The fact that we can build open public goods gives me this extra reason to work on it because it's not anymore, trying to be the next millionaire on Forbes or billionaire on Forbes. Is building something which is improving the life of many people who deserve this after a decade of, I would say, exploitation from platforms, any kind of platforms. A decade in which at the beginning we saw the advantages of centralized mega platforms, and at the end we started realizing that we are the product. So if you want to know a bit more about what I'm talking about, there's the episode 22 called Direct Bookings, in which I speak about these potential protocols like payments, escrow, review, dispute management, rewards, etc. And now I want to answer to a question. Great, Luca, let's do protocols. How do we do that? Well, first of all, nobody really knows it. Do you make a company? Do you make a DAO? Do you start building and developing and then later you see how to grow this? I don't know. We can try it all then. But ideally, it should be a DAO, a really decentralized DAO where the money is not even managed by a multisig, but is managed by all the token holders in a way. Now, what does it mean? It means, imagine we make a protocol where people can use to do something, like one of these protocols I mentioned before. And this protocol manages money, so maybe it's a payment system, maybe it charges a little fee like ENS domain does, whatever. So the protocol generates revenues. The easiest thing is to put these revenues in a safe, in a nosy safe, with, I don't know, like in case of Trips community, 9 signers, so the signature owners, multi-sig owners is the term. But this is still a small group of people. You can't prove there's actually 9. Maybe all the signatures is me, or maybe out of these 9, 6 are, they could, discuss together and reach an agreement to steal all the money, blah, blah, blah. So multi-sig, for how it sounds very modern and Web3 and crypto, but multi-sigs is not the solution. The solution is a smart contract where the money is managed by the largest number of people possible. Potentially every single token holder. Problem with token holder, if one token is a vote, the whales decide, or the smart contract is at risk of being attacked. Somebody could do a flash loan, buy a lot of those tokens, change the governance, maybe change the address where the money goes, or create a proposal and approve it and pay itself a lot of money. So governance, as I said in the episode dedicated to governance, is an unsolved problem. But I was saying, ideally, is the whole stakeholder, shareholder community which has a say on what to do with the money. And if you go on snapshot.org or in Messari in the governance tab, you will see DAOs voting on money allocation. You will actually see this live and see how this happens. Still, it's an unsolved problem. It works. I'm sure we're going to improve it a lot in the next years. But ideally, the money, even to go even farther than the governance managed money, it's smart contract managed money where there's no human intervention at all. So let's say we decide that this protocol generates a certain commission, a certain fee, which, I don't know, makes $1 million a day, $1 million a day. And there's no process with which we decide where the money goes. It's already pre-baked in the smart contract and it is immutable. Now, the problem is, where are we going to send this money? Well, it could be automatically one part of the money goes to a foundation, which is developers for Web3 in travel. And this can't be changed. Maybe a part of it is going to be used in an automatic, immutable way to burn the token, which is making this specific protocol safe. Maybe a part of it is going automatically to Gitcoin funding public goods. Maybe developers on the blockchain or the blockchains which the protocol uses to incentivize the production of the creation of public goods. Maybe reverse funding of public goods, which is something coming out in the last months. Very interesting. So you build something, it works, it gets adoption, and then you get paid by the community as a reverse airdrop on your help for everybody else. So there you have a protocol which is completely immutable. It's been launched, and what it does, it will do forever. There's only two outcomes. One outcome is people use it, and one outcome is people do not use it. There's a third outcome, which is like there's a bug, and that means people will stop using it, and a new version is going to have to be deployed. But in case it works and people use it, then this protocol provides a service and creates a cash flow, and this cash flow automatically goes to a certain number of players. And then you have a perpetual machine, immutable machine, which the industry can use for its use. So they need payments, they need reviews, they need dispute management. This happens, so a problem is solved, but instead of being done by a startup, it's done by a protocol. And this protocol not only makes this, it also makes a bit of money to keep everything sustainable. This is the perfect outcome, at least as per today, from building a protocol. So you created something which, together with other things, because everything can be composed, will bring us to a world in which, talking about bookings can happen with basically zero cost, total trust, total safety, and the more they use, the more they're gonna help people to build even better things or keeping the good things running smoothly. This is basically creating a completely new environment. And while I'm sure we're gonna make mistakes, there's gonna be scams, there's gonna be Ponzi schemes, and there's gonna be a lot of people who get hurt in the process. The fact that we have this kind of aim, we have a place we're going, which is not simple, self-fulfillment of our financial needs or being the next Brian Chesky. The journey, really, this time the journey it's all about the journey. It's not about the destination anyway, because the journey is in itself satisfactory. It's a great journey while being a builder, while being somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur and create something and be part of something with other people. So it gets philosophical pretty quickly. I think that these things are both political and philosophical. There's no way out of it. But until we build something, it's just cheap talk. So let's get our hands dirty. Let's build something. Now, from the individual point of view, let's see this from the individual, not from the founder, not from the DAO itself, from the person. Like you are a person, you've been working in Web2 for a while. Before the web, if you are old enough, you were working for companies. Maybe you were an entrepreneur. What are you going to do in the next 10 years if what I'm talking about actually plays out this way? What are you going to do? Well, let's talk about this as a journey, right? So, as I was saying in the last episode, we go into a winter. It's not sure, but let's say that we go into a winter and you want to be involved. So, what do? Well, I would start from Twitter. So, you go around, you look around, you see what's happening, and you try to look at any interesting project in Web3. Let's stay general for the moment, not in travel. And then when you see something which is interesting, you go in their Discord channel. And in their Discord channel, you read a bit around. Then you read their white paper or their manifesto, whatever kind of text they wrote to explain the general vision. And then you start interacting and you start looking for channels in which they say what needs to be done. Now, most people think that to be part of a DAO, you need to develop, but we are past that. There's development is the most important, probably the most scarce resource, but there's need for people who write articles, make videos, manage social media. It's really open. So if there's something you like and there's something you like to do is needed in that specific Discord, you try to do it or try to ask, can I do it? And see what they suggest you. So you start getting involved, right? And this is just one DAO you're part of. Then you acquire some of the tokens. Maybe they give them for free. Maybe they're very cheap. Maybe you buy one. It doesn't matter. And then you start voting. You go in their snapshot, which is mostly where the governance happens, or their forum, where normally their discussions, the proposals are discussed before going for a vote on Snapshot, and you participate. You are going to be part of a DAO in no time, okay? Having done that, you can do it again for another DAO, and you can be part of several DAOs. Now, of course, if you are part of too many DAOs, there's not going to be even one where you are impactful, but maybe you're still looking, right? You're still looking something which really excites you, and you keep looking. But it's very important to start helping from the beginning because you cannot really understand a DAO or in general a project unless you are really involved. If just reading, yeah, you get the feeling, but you really need to get involved because that's how you understand, right? So now you're part of a couple of DAOs. And then maybe you start looking at something in travel, and because you have a bit of experience with some other DAOs, you'll be able to decide if you want a part of the next Web3 in travel DAO. If it's really a DAO, if actually it's not really open as they say. Maybe you find out that some travel project which you thought was Web2 actually is opening to the communities. A lot of things can happen. So that's how you get involved into these things. You start getting in and you start helping as soon as possible. Yeah, it's work. You have to work. You have to make efforts. And when you make efforts, I guarantee you stand out 1 of 100. So 99 people just read. They try to leech. It's like the torrents, right? Leecher and seeders. Everybody in DAOs, like most people in DAOs, they just want to see if there's some opportunity, some alpha, if there's something they can get out of it, maybe some tokens. 1 out of 100 goes in and say, I like the idea, I want your help. And by doing that, you get, from the point of view of the founders, you get immediately visible and useful and sometimes indispensable. Now, will that mean you're going to make money or you're going to get a job? No, of course not. DAOs are very fluid. They can die at every time. They can, what you're doing, maybe somebody else will do or whatever. I don't know. Don't do this trying to get something out of it. Do it as a learning experience because you want the project to success. And you're always free to leave. You don't even need to, it doesn't take a long time to close the cooperation. You just say, guys, I'm done. I'm going to do something else. That's it. There's no formal agreement, right? Apart from when you actually made a proposal and you asked for money and you got that money, right? So if you see all this as a way to try answering the question, how are we going to build the infrastructure of travel in the future? Then it makes more sense because you have a final goal, a target, and every difficulty you find, you can read it under that light. You can interpret it under how to solve that problem. And that's the problem you're solving. When you try to pitch your idea to Web2 investors, and the first question is, what is the problem you're solving? Web3 in travel today is trying to solve one problem. And the problem is how to build the open infrastructure for travel. This is the most beautiful problem you can work on because it's a very basic, fundamental, very important problem, which will allow people to build on top of your solution for the next decades. So I can't imagine anything more exciting to be working on in 2022. So good luck with the winter, even if it's just May. Good luck with it, and we're going to be here. So be part of it. Be part of it, and let's build the infrastructure of travel, which travel so badly needs. All right, this is the end of today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. For more insights on Web3, follow me on Twitter @tripluca, TRIPLUCA, and see you next time.